Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona, and welcome to another video. There is a DSM meetup happening in Phoenix tonight. It's about 40 minutes straight that way west. I've got a little bit of time before I have to head over there, so I thought I'd just film an intro real quick. I don't know how much footage I'll be able to get while I'm there. I don't know very many people. I really don't. I only know one. Kevin, the guy who sold me my SRS exhaust, is going to be there, and he's the only guy I really know. So I don't want to just pull my camera out and start jamming it in people's faces. So sorry ahead of time if there's a lack of footage, but if there is, I thought maybe I could go over a few things later in the video that I've learned since entering the DSM community. Snapshot in time. I think I've had my car for about 6 months now. So if I don't get enough footage at the meet, we'll go through the car. But let's go ahead to the meet now. Here's a super quiet, kind of slow acceleration for your guys' moms.
"24 hours later."
Alright, so as predicted, I didn't get very much footage last night, so let's go over the things I've learned since joining the DSM community, snapshot in time, about 6 months ago. And I'll put a little disclaimer in there too. Anything I say here, this isn't fact. It's not meant to offend anybody. Hopefully it doesn't. It's just for someone who's maybe looking to get into the DSM community, or maybe just got into it, or maybe they're thinking about it and they stumble upon my channel someday and they end up binge watching, you know, a bunch of my videos. This is one that will hopefully help them understand the DSM better. The number one thing that I've learned is the community itself. You know, DSM'ers are like all the other car breeds out there. You know, you get your Mustang boys, your Chevy boys, your Porsche guys, whatever. DSM'ers are no different. The only thing that I see is it's kind of a dying breed, I think. A lot of guys that used to be into it are kind of growing out of it. You know, it's kind of the cool car when you were 18 to 24 or 16 to 24. And as a result of that, you know, the community used to be that age, and that's the cars they bought, that's the cars they modified. And how well do 16 to 24 or 16 to 28 year olds modify cars? You know, not great. And that is, you know, probably part of the reason there's a declining number of them within the community. You know, the parts are getting harder and harder to find, more and more expensive. And, you know, being as it was an entry-level car, you know, 5 years ago, and it still kind of is. But, you know, yesterday I saw one on like OfferUp or DSM Classifieds, 100,000 miles falling apart for like 16 grand. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I will add that the community is just as good as every other car community. You know, every car community is going to have Facebook groups. It's going to have its own website. It's going to have its own local chapters, like the meet that I went to last night. So, you know, get involved in those websites and get involved with those groups, or go to those meets, depending on if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And then, just like any band of brothers or group of friends, you know, don't Don't be afraid to ask questions. In my opinion, there is no stupid questions. Unfortunately, on, you know, some of the popular websites and in the groups, you know, people love to pick on people when they're not face to face. So, you know, do your research on questions, but also don't put up with any crap from people who are giving you any crap about questions you ask, because at the end of the day, their mom just didn't kiss them enough when they were kids. Another thing I've learned about the DSM since purchasing it is that these things are reliable. I don't care what anyone says. Mine is of course stock, so that's going to make it more reliable. Any car that you know, throw a bunch of parts on and mess with the engine, it's going to make it unreliable. I don't know what the most reliable car in history is, in my opinion. My 350Z is, but that's why I leave the engine stock, so I don't have to mess with problems. And I'll probably end up leaving this one pretty much stock. I wouldn't hesitate to drive this thing to Miami Beach or up to Minnesota from Phoenix right now. I would hop in this car right now with a backpack and do it without even questioning it. By the way, if this video gets 1,000 likes before the end of February 2021, I'll do either one of those. Now, some of you might say, yeah, but mine did this and mine did that, and this one I got did this. Sure it did. Going back to what I said earlier about this car being like the thing for, you know, 16 or 18 to 28-year-olds, you know, back in the day, they're a little bit high strung. I mean, these are like girls that had immature boys dating them, and, you know, they've got a couple issues after that. So unless you can find one that had a mature owner that took care of it, you know, you're going to probably deal with some of those issues that everyone else talks about. By the way, I'd take that drive to Miami Beach or Minnesota, even with this nail in this tire. It's been in there for over a week now. Don't worry, wheels and tires are coming. The last thing I'll say about the reliability of this car is, honestly, there's really not a whole lot that can go wrong with it. I know the engine pretty well now. I've been underneath the car and seen how the drivetrain works. The only thing that's going to go wrong with this car is if you mess with the internals or, you know, the turbo or the injectors on the engine. If you leave this thing stock or, you know, mild bolt-ons or whatever, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't run forever as long as you take care of it. Okay, just for fun, I went on Google and looked up the most reliable car ever, and the Mazda MX-5 and Toyota Camry were the two top ones that came up. So the MX-5 I think is like the new Miata, so I don't think that one's been around long enough to really judge, because that's still relatively new. Toyota Camry's been around forever. So just imagine if the Toyota Camry's average owner was, you know, 16 or 18 to, you know, 24 or 28. You think Toyota Camrys would be the most reliable cars ever if all of them were bolting bigger turbos, messing with the injectors, and trying to learn how to program the ECU by themselves? Probably not. So this is kind of a funny one, but if you've been following me from the beginning, you might remember it. When I first bought this car, I did not understand how a blow-off valve mounted. I do understand it now, so if you've been hanging with me since the beginning and you want that question answered, here it is. Every blow-off valve has a unique flange, right? So this is a flange for a stock 1G. Now, to my knowledge, blow-off valves all have proprietary flanges. Correct me if I'm wrong. There might be one or two out there that share a flange, but HKS, Greddy, and so on and so forth all have different flanges. So if your intercooler piping doesn't have that specific flange, you're going to have to get a new piece of piping for that section, or have somebody, you know, fab it up for you so that you can put on your Greddy or HKS blow-off valve, which is kind of a pain. If I'm a blow-off valve company, I get together with all the other blow-off valve companies and I say, hey, let's make one flange so that customers can buy our blow-off valve or your blow-off valve, and they don't have to change their piping if they want to swap them out. Or maybe they just get sick of one noise and want to try the other. Now they don't have to buy the extra flange. So that's something I've learned since buying the DSM. All right, guys, the last thing I'll say since joining the DSM community is when I first bought the car, one of the main reasons I got it was because I thought they were getting rare or harder to find. And since joining, and, you know, 6 months later now down the road, snapshot in time, I think I was right. It is really hard to find these cars, especially in the GSX version and especially in a 1999. I got kind of lucky that this was a 1999. I wasn't necessarily shooting for it, but now that I have it, I don't think I'd want to buy anything but a 1999 GSX. So I'm super glad to have this car and be able to bring you guys this kind of content. In any event, I appreciate you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the local DSM meet as well as my take on what I've learned since owning the car. So I appreciate you for watching. Stay tuned for more. I'll catch you in the next one.
Listen.
Oh crap, I totally forgot to mention the video. I might put this in later. The Eclipse is totally fine in stock form. It's fun. You don't have to have the fastest car on the block. This thing is totally cool just the way it is. Hit the subscriber comments really quick. 350Z King, you from the Valley, bro? Yeah, bro. Scottsdale, baby. Well, Paradise Valley to be specific. 350Z GK Tech V3 angle kit install. You are definitely missing one of the Ackerman adjusters, bro. Contact him and make sure you can get that sent out. I contacted Officer Dan. He told me that it's fine, but I maybe will hit them up. Jake Gantz on the Jeep ZJ visits Wilcox Playa video. What make model is that AR? Cool as HE double hockey sticks, almost as cool as the Jeep itself. The AR in that video is a custom built by myself. Spikes upper, spikes lower, spikes BCG. It's a Melanite barrel, 16-inch government profile from Bear Creek Arsenal, I think. Yankee Hill flash suppressor slash comp, Magpul furniture, Magpul backup sight, UTG rail, Bushnell TRS 25 red dot on a UTG mount. Oh, and a 2-stage Rock River trigger.